Okay, so hello everyone. Actually, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm super happy to kickstart today another season of the Network of Resources webinar series. So if you're joining us from the previous season, you know already that these webinars have been shifted now from Fridays to Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Rendezvous for a presentation and a deep dive in EO Cloud Platform. And if you're joining us for the very first time, welcome. I'm Zainab Keraou, and I'm a data application scientist at the European Space Agency. And I'm here today with my colleague Federico Rondoni on behalf of ESA. And we're actually organizing this webinar series in the framework of the Network of Resources initiative that promotes the use of EO cloud platforms and services for Earth observation data exploitation. So in these webinars, every week we present a new platform and we discover together the capabilities and the features they offer. And the NOR initiative actually onboards multiple operational cloud providers that give access to the data, to EO data, to processing capabilities and cloud services, and help the users to build their workflows and applications. And the NOR specifically supports and sponsors educational, scientific, and pre-commercial applications. So we have a sponsorship process that allows you to try the different services if you wish. And my colleague Federico will be walking you through the NOR portal where you can discover all the services, compare them, and eventually ask for the sponsorship requests. And today I'm super happy to kickstart this season with the OpenEO Platform. So welcome Benjamin Schumacher, who is a community support specialist at EODC that developed and operates OpenEO Platform, which is a federated cloud platform for EO data processing. And that, I must say, abstracts quite a lot of the complexity and the overhead of data management, giving access to multi-cloud backends, leveraging data cubes and intuitive libraries for Earth observation data exploitation. So super excited to have you here, Benjamin. I will give you the floor in a bit. And just as a reminder, this session will be recorded, and the recording will be available later on the EO Open Science ESA YouTube channel, and also on the outreach page of the NOR portal that we will share with you later in the chat. Please, for all the participants, feel free to send us your questions in the chat, write them to us. We will take them as the presentation progresses, and also at the end of the presentation we have a Q&A session before my colleague Federico presents to you the NOR portal and the sponsorship request process. So the floor is yours, Benjamin.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Zainab and Federico, for having me, actually, and allowing me to open up this very exciting series. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Could you please quickly confirm that you are seeing my screen?
Yes, not yet in presentation mode.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Let me quickly switch into presentation mode. All right, now it should be in presentation mode. And also a very warm welcome from my side. I'm Benjamin. I'm working for EODC as introduced, and I'm here to present to you the OpenEO Platform application, basically, or cloud platform. But before I start, I really want you all to answer a questionnaire really quick. These are only 4 questions, so I can adapt my presentation to your needs a bit. I'm just checking where the chat went for me. This was also last time a bit of a problem. I'll stop sharing for a second because then I see the chat, and I will give you the forms. Otherwise, you can also scan the QR code that I will be sharing in a second again to answer this questionnaire. And then we can have a quick look on the answers because I'm very curious to see what participants we have and what experiences you have, so I can adapt a little bit. Let's see. It's only 4 questions, so don't worry, it's not too much. Which technologies you're familiar with, how familiar you are with OpenEO already, and what you expect to hear today. So we got already 2 answers, 3 answers. I think we are 8 people, right? 6, 8 people. So not scaling workflows on OpenEO. Very interesting answer I already have here. So let's see if there's one more. So most of you have actually experience with cloud platforms, Google Earth Engine or OpenEO Platform, also experience with raster data or data cubes even. That's very good. So I can really jump over a lot of things, a lot of the conceptual sides. That's very good. So just to give you a brief introduction, very brief. What is OpenEO? OpenEO lets you define a workflow in the end to process Earth observation data sets. That means you can run your Earth observation analysis on our federated backend infrastructure. Here's a little disclaimer that currently I am talking only about OpenEO Platform. I am not talking about OpenEO on the Copernicus data space ecosystem. So there is actually a website, which I'm also going to show you at the end of the presentation, where you can see an overview of backend infrastructures and where you can go and basically connect to each backend singularly. The difference really is when you look at OpenEO Platform that you can access 3 or 4 backends basically in a unified API manner through an aggregator. So why do we need OpenEO? I think probably many of you have seen the slide. So basically the issue is that you as a researcher don't want to care about data handling anymore. You don't want to pre-process the data on your own infrastructure and realize at some stage, oh, my network drive is full. You want to really do your research, right? So in the end, data management, the data management burden has taken away a lot of time of the researchers' clocks. And really, before OpenEO, the situation was that each cloud infrastructure had their own, basically, user base, right? With the Horizon 2020 project, this dissolved a little bit because you could then connect to multiple backends with in a unified way, because all these backends spoke the same language, right? With OpenEO API. But nevertheless, we continued this with a more or less logical step to add this aggregation layer in between, right? So that the client or the user only needs to connect to one singular entity. We call it OpenEO Platform. The website is called openeo.cloud. Exactly. Underneath that, we have Terrascope backend, we have the EODC backend, and also now integrated, this is a bit of an older picture, the Sentinel Hub backend. The concept of OpenEO, since you're all familiar with the concept, is data cube. I'm just going to jump over this slide and come directly to the use cases, what it has been used for. So in the end, we've seen use cases from the community where there were selective logging sites identified from Sentinel-1 imagery, really great use case where you could basically identify the logging based on the time series disturbance of the Sentinel-1 signal. And then there was another use case actually looking at river discharge, which I was really happy about because I couldn't imagine at the first place that this was really possible. But so from Sentinel-2 imagery, also time series analysis, you can actually look at river benches and see the river discharge basically from if this river bench is covered or how much it is covered. So in the end, this was done by IRP from Italy, and they could really show that there is a correlation between the Sentinel-2 image analysis and the Sentinel and the local measured river discharge data, right? So also what we do have in OpenEO Platform is a really active community. The use case that I was talking about just a moment ago, Paolo wrote a lot of questions into our forum, and he got really good help there. Yeah, exactly. So this is just really quick the introduction. So you can represent your Earth observation analysis in this common language, right? And we have 3 available client packages that you can define the analysis in. You will see that also in my demonstration later. Also, what I wanted to elaborate on how to contribute actually to OpenEO. So there is this local processing library. So basically, you don't need really a backend to connect to. You can prototype your work also locally on your machine, and then you can go ahead and do the same processing in a big scale infrastructure. So it's really useful because this is also referring to one of your answers, scaling workflows on OpenEO. So basically the concept is you could use this local site or client side processing, and then you can scale it up. The other thing here is that this local processing library is based on a library called OpenEO Processes Dask. So the EODC infrastructure is based on a Dask gateway and X-array infrastructure, and therefore you can contribute your own processes. And after your pull request was accepted to the repository, actually your process becomes available as an OpenEO process, which is really useful also for non-experts to use your processing, also for publications and so on, to actually allow users or reviewers to run your process in an easy manner, right? So this is actually a bit of an advanced interaction that you might be interested in. Also, what I wanted to give you 2 more slides as an input. So the documentation that you see here is available online. You can just go there, look at the use cases. I'm going to present also 1 or 2 use cases depending on the time. And also, if you have questions, you're welcome in the forum, the OpenEO forum. Here, I wanted to mention that EODC is celebrating this year 10 years of EODC. So you're also very welcome for this event where OpenEO also will be a part of, but also Stark and other technologies that we will be presenting. The EODC forum is held at the 10th and 11th of June 2024. You can register under this link. And that is actually already the PowerPoint presentation. Until now, does anyone have any questions?
I can't see any in the chat, but I remind the participants who join later to send us their question in the chat. We will take them.
Perfect. So now to the more hands-on part, and I wanted to actually start from the very beginning, right? So actually, how do I? Yeah. So I'll show you this my screen. So this is the main entry point of OpenEO Platform. It is OpenEO.cloud. You can go up here and register here, but and you will get immediately assigned a 30-day trial user. And this trial user you can use with 1,000 credits, but from here I would actually also offer you the participants here not to register, but just simply write me an email later. I will put my email address in the chat, and I will give you immediately a test account that you can even use longer than the 30 days. And after 2 months, I will probably shut it off, and you can just simply use that test account for your work or for your testing, and then you can sign up later if you like. Yeah, so there is also the direct access to the documentation and so on. And the most interesting page here, or two parts of the page, is the clients. So where you can actually go directly to the Jupyter Lab, and once you are logged in, you are redirected directly to our Jupyter Hub, where you always can find the community examples mounted. So we directly enable basically these community examples, so you can start from there. That's one option. The other option is actually that you open up the editor and you sign into the editor either through the login button here or up here, and there you need to go through this login process with EGI check-in. There's opening on the side a little side window, and you can log in this way, and you can actually see the jobs here also and interact with the platform. I will go for the Jupyter Lab for now, but later on we will see how it actually works when you schedule a job and you can run this job then on the platform. So when you go into the Jupyter Lab, you can go either into into the community examples, but UDC also has a separate repository available where we host our use cases. Maybe one more thing I need to show you on the website is actually that there's also under this menu, there's also the documentation available, where you can also read about all the use cases that we have completed in OpenEO Platform. So you can also look at basically what we will be looking at will be the global flood monitoring use case, but also other use cases. Exactly. So let's start with a very simple use case and how do you interact with the platform. So once you're logged into this Jupyter Lab environment, you can open up the Jupyter notebooks, and what we will be doing in this use case is actually doing a vessel detection based on an adaptive thresholding technique that really uses Sentinel-1 imagery to analyze over the ocean if there is a backscatter, and if there is a backscatter, then you will find a vessel in the end because the ocean is quite flat, and therefore these vessels can be really easily shown. So what I'm doing in the first cell here is to connect to, probably most of you know that, and then here I can basically define my area of interest. I use a library here called Folium, where I do a CMask. Basically, I define the spatial and temporal extent that I'm interested in. So the OpenEO users among you know this already. And then I can load this vector cube. This is actually a quite rare process, I would say, not often used. And in the end, I'm doing a masked polygon, and here I'm doing this adaptive thresholding, right? It's also documented on the very top how this adaptive thresholding technique works. And in the end, exactly looking at the overlap of these two vector cubes, and in the end, I can save the result in a GeoJSON format that shows me which vessels actually are detected, and exactly, and then I can download it later. So I'm gonna start the job now. And the interesting bit here is that as soon as I start the job, I can actually get the information about the job ID, about the time submitted in UTC, about the status, queued, and so on, and what the representation of this job looks like, right? So if I can actually use this now, and either I request the status back of this job, so now it is already running, or I say let graph, and second, I used the wrong. Oh, it should be flat graph. Let's see. No, this is the job. Sorry, I used job, but this is the graph. So here we go. So then I can use this graph actually, which has all the parameters. And what I can do now is technically I can copy this graph and copy the entire graph, which has all the kernels available. Actually, I just saw that, and I can copy that over to my web editor. And in the web editor, I will just simply get the same graph that I use, because this is the processing recipe, right, for the platform. So I go into the editor here, I log in, and at the bottom here, there's a little sign where you can say code, and you can just put that into there. And now I need to quickly check. Usually there's a process ID. Maybe this is not a valid process for the moment, but I can go back and show myself the visual model. Yeah, technically. Probably I copied something wrong. Exactly. So that's one way of basically interacting with the backends and looking at or looking at this. Let's see if we got the job results. Or let's actually delete this and see what we have. In the meantime, are there any questions? Because the job is still running. So Zainab, are there any questions?
I'm checking in the chat. There aren't any, but personally I was wondering, so this is the Python client. Is there any support for Julia?
Yeah, actually, this is a really interesting question. So OpenEO Platform officially only supports 3 clients, also the clients listed here. But nevertheless, there has been from the Max Planck Institute in Jena, they have started to develop a Julia client that you can use to also schedule jobs on OpenEO. And in the end, what you only need is at the very beginning is the backend connection string, right? And this doesn't change for the Julia client. So in the end, you just define the backend infrastructure, and then you can also use the Julia client for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome. Yeah, as long as this is processing, actually, let's switch to another use case. A quite interesting one, actually, I think. This one is the floods use case, global flood monitoring. EODC is processing this global flood monitoring for every Sentinel-1 scene, actually. And it automatically detects about 4 to 6 to 8 hours after acquisition if there is a flood in the Sentinel-1 scene. And what we you can read about it all in this wiki. And what we do here is actually analyze the global flood monitoring output. So since the output is generated for any pixel of Sentinel-1, you obviously can get maximum flood extents, for instance. So what we do here is we can look at the GFM collection. Actually, this is also a very useful feature here. You can describe the collection, and basically it gives you a description of the collection back, what is the license, what is the temporal extent, and who are the providers. And then what you can do is actually you can define also, again, your spatial and temporal extent. And what you do here is actually you sum up the pixels, right? So a very easy task here. And you can run this job then directly from the notebook. So in the meantime, this Sentinel-1 auxiliary job has finished. I'm getting the results here. And we defined here a bit of a helper function to get this canonical link. And I got to install this app. So in the end, what you can do is basically you can download the results. This is a stack item here. So in the end, you can download the results here and display them. So it's very easy also to interact with this, right? So what we've shown here is basically that through this vessel detection job, I get a GeoJSON output, and I can also display this on the backend. So this is maybe also an interesting bit here. So if I go to openeo.org, I promised you to go there actually anyways, and I go to Services Hub, you find all the backend infrastructures that support the OpenEO API, right? And if I go here to EODC, for instance, and I go to OpenEO Web Editor, then I can connect directly to the referring backend. For instance, this is now the backend that I ran the canonical jobs on, so I can basically download also the results from these jobs that I have that I have shown you here. I can download this from here, right? So here I get also the links to these TIFF files, and I could technically also go into a QGIS or anything to open up basically these results. I'm just checking which job it was. Just give me a second. In the meantime, we can use it for questions. BEC, was it? Okay. Was this one? So I can download these. And I will get this output vector cube here also as a data cube. So, yeah. Exactly. Maybe I can open this. Any questions?
Um, yeah, Benjamin, so there are many predefined processes. Are there any machine learning in the list of the platform processes that are already optimized by the backend to run smoothly, etc.?
Yes, so there is this random forest process. It's a random forest regression process and a predict random forest. So you can use this as a machine learning algorithm. The other option that you have is to ingest through a user-defined function into the backend some kind of machine learning processes. So that's it, that it's called run UDF, I think. If you go to the platform infrastructure where there are more processes, run UDF, and there you can basically ingest a UDF. This is also quite advanced, where you give a URI to a UDF, and then you can run this URI within the backend infrastructure. The other option actually is for machine learning. So these are the two options, I would say. Yeah. Other option is you define it yourself through a processor on OpenEO processes task, and we accept your pull request, and then you can run also this machine learning process.
Okay, cool. We've been joined by other participants. Maybe you can very briefly touch base on UDPs and UDFs. Yeah, that are a nice way for users to bring their customers. I don't know how familiar people are with the concept.
Yeah, so exactly. I wanted to mention this actually also. We have here so for UDPs, it's basically you can define UDPs, meaning that you have various processes, you chain them together, and the process graph gets really, really large at some stage. And what you can do actually is you save this large process graph as a UDP, and therefore you can, as a user-defined process, and therefore you can reuse these user-defined processes. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have any available. But what you can do then is you can run a UDP. And for instance, we also integrated this GFM max flood algorithm as a user-defined process. So you can then select easily here in this wizard, you can select easily somewhere where there was a flood or an area of interest. You can also select a start and ending time for this for this area of interest, and then what you will get back is basically the maximum flood extent for this picked for this selected area and time range. Apparently, we have a network issue, so fortunately that doesn't work for the moment. But I can retry. So create batch job. Actually, G. And the other concept that we have of the UDF is basically that you run this UDF, so you have a process graph here, and you can give a URI here to a user-defined function. I would need to search for one. To be honest, I wasn't prepared for this question. But then you would be able to actually run this Python processor basically in the backend. So you ingest basically your code into our backend infrastructure, and therefore you can run it there. Yeah. I think I should hand back to you, except there are other questions. If you are interested in using OpenEO Platform yourself, I will write my email address into the chat, and you can simply you can simply write me an email if you're interested. Then you can get from my side a basic user account, so you don't need to register for a minute, and you can try it out yourself to run processing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Benjamin. I hope this gave an overview, at least for people who are not familiar with the platform. So I must say that also the forum is a very active community. So if you try the platform at some point, do not hesitate to post your questions. People are super active to help out debugging and finding answers to your questions. I think we're running a bit out of time. If you have further questions, feel free, as Benjamin said, to send them. We can always have a follow-up. And I hand it over to Federico for the NOR portal.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Benjamin, for the presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's navigate through the Network of Resources portal. You can reach the NOR portal by going to the web address nor-discover.org, and you'll be redirected to the homepage of the Network of Resources initiative. Here you can already find some useful information about the NOR, like the number of approved projects, the number of providers onboarded, and other useful information. You can also navigate through the menu and have an overlook at the news, for instance, or at other section of the NOR portal. Then, by going to the portfolio page, you will be and clicking on Access It Here, you will be redirected to the NOR portfolio, where you can find all the different providers and different services that are available to the network of our resources. So let's see what we can find here. For instance, if we want to look for OpenEO, we can simply scroll down the list, or we can search in the text search here, or we can select by different service type and so on. When we have identified our provider and services, we can have a general overview of the collections that are available through the network of resources, the services that the provider offers through the network of resources, and so on. We can have, let's say, also a link to the provider help desk, which is really important because we always advise you to first contact the provider to understand if the services you are looking for are really helpful for your project. And then you have the pricing wizard, which is the access to the, let's say, services themselves. So by going to the pricing wizard, you will be redirected to a form that you need to fill out to ask for specific services and resources. First of all, you need to select which project type you are working on. For instance, we have 4 different categories. So if you work on commercial, research, pre-commercial, and educational projects, you need to select it here. Let's say we are working on a research project. And then we have the list of all the different services that are available through the network of resources. Here you can simply select with the tick box what you are looking for. You can change the number of units, the duration, and so on. And then by going at the bottom of the page, you have 2 different options. The first one is to directly go to the provider website and ask the provider for the specific resources. or you can ask ISA for a sponsorship. We want to remind you that there are some things to check before applying for a sponsorship, like for instance, if you're working for an ISA project or not. This will change the different resources that you can access. Let's say we are not working for an ISA project, and if you will or not co-found the cost, because there is a maximum limit on the resources that ISA can allow for the network of resources sponsorship. So let's say we are not co-funding the cost, and then we ask ISA for sponsorship. This will redirect us to the form itself, where you need to clearly state out all the different parts of your project, starting from the project title, your name, that will be the name of the project coordinator, the project coordinator work category, the official email address. This is really important because it must be an organization email address. We cannot accept requests that are coming from personal email addresses. The project organization name, country, webpage, and address. Then there are the parts, the sections of the form where you need to describe your project, starting from the project objectives, the implementation methodology that you want to use to reach these objectives, and the expected results. Then there is the section related to the cloud environment and the resources you are going to request, starting from a justification for the selected services and provider. To fill out this section, it is really important that you have clear in mind why you are going to ask for a specific resource. And this is why we always advise you to contact first the provider, then the description of work within the cloud environment that you are going to do. And also here it's important because we want to see how you're going to use the services in the cloud. We want to remind you that the network of resources is an initiative aiming to bring user to data and not the contrary. So it is not a way to access, to simply access data, but the network of resources is a way to access cloud resources, cloud services, and we want to see that you are going to fully use the cloud environment. Then there is the geographical area of interest of the project that you need to state out, where that is basically the geographical area of your project, like if you're working on a specific region, like over a specific region, country, cities, and so on. And the last things, let's say, are some information that we need, starting from if it is the first time that you have applied for NOR sponsorship. If it's not the first time, it will be open a new field where you need to state the previous request ID that you sent. And you have also to confirm that you have fulfilled all the duties that you have, the commitments, sorry, that you have when you ask for a sponsorship. For instance, one of the commitments is that at the end of the project, you need to send a report that talks about the resources and the services that you used to achieve the goal of your project. And then you have an overview of the services that you are requesting. And finally, you need to select, as I was just saying, a date for the submission of the report, of the set of slides. This set of slides is a PowerPoint or PowerPoint-like file with 4 or 5 slides where you say why the services that you requested through the network of resources were helpful for your project. We don't want to, let's say, have a report on the description of the entire workflow of your project or the results of your project. We want clearly to see how you use the resources that you requested through the NOR. Then you can or cannot sign up for the NOR newsletter, and you must accept the ISA privacy policy. Once you have done all of this, you export the sponsoring request. It will create a PDF. You download the PDF, sign the PDF. Really important, we cannot process requests that are not signed. And if you are working on an ESA project, you will have to ask also the ESA technical officer to sign the form. Once you have the form signed, you email it to the email address nor-sponsorship-request@esa.int. Then it will start the evaluation process that usually takes around 6 working days, but it might take also longer if we need more information, for instance. But in that case, you will be contacted from the NOR address. That's it from my side. I give back the floor to you, Zainab.
Okay, thanks a lot, Federico. So for the participants, if you want to test OpenEO Platform, if I understood correctly, contact Benjamin for a test account for a couple of weeks. And then if you think this is the right platform for you, we're more than happy to support it and sponsor your use of it. So you have the sponsorship process that has been just explained by Federico, and you can always write to us if you have any questions or requests. Let me check if there are further questions in the chat. I think I put one. If Benjamin, if you could just remind me, what are the data formats that are supported by the platform for downloading the results?
Yeah, so in general, we have the idea stack in, stack out. So basically the spatial temporal asset catalog, and underneath that you can decide if you want to have NetCDF, cloud optimized GeoTIFF, or other formats, as I showed you in the vessel detection use case, which I, by the way, got to work, but it's only 3 minutes. So yeah, so these any other format that is useful for the data. So GeoJSON, if there is basically a point data set behind, then this is also feasible to use, right?
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for the demo. I think it's the joy of the live demos. A few things work, but others don't. But thank you so much for the overview of on different ways to run OpenEO processes. So we saw the web editor and also the Python client. We are just on time. Again, please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and to Benjamin. And stay tuned for the next webinar session. So we have one next, not next week, the week after, right, Federico? So it's every Wednesday, roughly at 1 p.m. And we're having announcements as we go along. And at the end of this webinar, you will receive a form. Please feel free to fill it to help us enhance the training experience overall. And see you soon, I hope. Thank you, Benjamin, again. Thanks, Federico. And thank you to all the participants.